Okay. Hello, David. Nice to have you on the podcast. I'm going to hand the intro over to you. Could you just tell us, first of all, who you are and what you're about? And then I also want you to touch on your recent FKT quickly, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm David Hedges. I uh, run in the mountains. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico nowadays, and have been doing this for 11 years since I was quite young. And yeah, over those years, I kind of progressively have delved further into or further up, more technical mountains, bigger projects, and so on. Um, but I just reset the Nolan's FKT on Monday. So yeah, that was my big project for the year.
Right. And for people like myself, who either don't have any background on American trails or don't even know what an FKT is, could you just explain um, where that is, what it is, and a brief kind of history of it? Because I understand that you held the record in 2023 for it as well. So it's the second time around.
Yeah. Yeah, so FKTs are just documenting how fast a given route has been done, um, subdivided into styles kind of. So you can have an overall fastest time, and then you can have the fastest unsupported, self-supported, or supported FKT. So in Nolan's case, Nolan's 14. I now have the overall supported fastest time again, but Joey Campanelli famously had the unsupported and overall time. In other words, he was the fastest person to ever run it, and he did unsupported, and he held that for 3 years. And he still has the unsupported time. So that's like one of these incredibly impressive records that gets a little under um, acknowledged because um, because he did it just by himself. So,
Right.
but the route itself is linking 14,000 foot peaks together in sort of the central Colorado Rockies. Um, and they include the highest peak in all of Colorado, Mount Elbert, which is I think the second highest in the lower 48. So it's the whole route is high altitude. I think it averages like 12,500 feet roughly. It goes down below 10,000 feet just for a little bit below Mount Princeton. But I think the reason why it's sort of notorious in the US is because it's just like a very aesthetic, obvious route. You could see the whole thing. It's there. All these peaks are pretty massive, um, and you can see them from the Arkansas River Valley. Like Leadville, Buena Vista, and they're just very impressive. But the other reasons is just because there isn't a whole lot of like the sport of ultra running in the United States isn't rooted in alpinism or anything. Like it's a flat-ish trail running based mode, sort of like
Okay.
history. So
Yeah.
so kind of like the history of Nolan's has all these professional, quite famous American and Canadian runners attempting, who just won XYZ race,
Mhm.
attempting this 100-mile project and really struggling. So that's why it's pretty infamous. And it's, the majority of the time is spent off trail. There isn't much, there isn't much truly technical. I mean, there isn't any truly technical, um, climbing involved, but there is some scrambliness here and there. And the, the challenge, at least back in the day, which I think it was started roughly in the late 80s,
Okay.
um, it was the navigation. So you can imagine not that long ago, like when I was first introduced to the route, no one's watch would last that long. No one had a
Right.
GPS I mean, I guess you could have a handheld like hunting GPS if you really wanted, but there was no heat map to use on Strava. So like when I first learned about it, people would be like, Nolan's is a hardcore route somewhere between 90 miles and 130 miles. Like people just didn't know.
Yeah.
Um, and so kind of just with tech, and there was kind of a literally written rule book, like Barclays, basically, by the people
Okay.
who thought this up about the style you should do it in, which included no, you know, technology as far as I'm
Okay.
aware.
Yeah.
And like I think you could receive help, but it was in the style of US pacing where you can't have someone do the work for you. They can just be company.
Yeah.
So that was the original challenge, and now it's kind of progressed from there, in a more kind of like speedy style.
Yeah. And I'm not quite sure how to phrase the question. I'll focus on how you were trying to accomplish it because I understand that people might have a different culture of FKTs and especially this one. But were you trying to stick to, I don't want to say the rule, they're not the rules, but yeah, the written book of rules. Were you trying to maintain that like ethos as you did it? Because I understand you're quite a small team. You almost did it informally. It was formal, but it was like informal. How you went about it, was that quite intentional?
Um, 2 years ago it was because so in 2023 I spent um like 6 week or like 5 6 weeks camping below the route and spent I was doing like 30 40 plus hour weeks scouting like every single day I had a part of the course I wanted to check out. And by that time, there already was like Joey Campanelli he had gone through his own process of scouting and had come up with really good lines, like excellent lines. The problem was like, he was doing the scouting using Strava iPhone app. And so it wasn't contiguous. Like a lot of the lines weren't as clear cut as so basically I put together the files based off of my own experience, going back to, I mean, I first started running those mountains in 2016, did a little bit of the route, and then I joined Alex Nichols, who was uh, both my coach and a friend, like my cross country
Yeah.
college coach at school. In 2018, I did the last half with him. I wasn't very helpful because I wasn't very experienced. And, that was like, yeah, 2018, my watch died immediately. My phone died. Like he didn't know the route super well. He was just, so in other words, he was kind of route finding while he was out there.
Yeah.
So, but by 2023, I put together like incredibly precise lines on GPX, like drew them out,
Right.
like had boots on the ground, checked them out, practiced, did some variations, came up with my favorite, drew it out in different files, and then my actual attempt was, I believe, the first contiguous. It was a good, it was like a complete the whole 94 miles.
Right.
Um, yeah. So this time around, I didn't do as much scout. I took the lines. I just used what I had. I had two small innovations, but otherwise followed pretty much the same route and had a bit bigger. So 2 years ago, I had I think three total people help or
Okay. Well,
four. So I did most of it solo,
yeah.
self, basically supported use just with aid stations,
Yeah.
and then some pacing for certain sections. And that at the time already was the women's record had been set in a much more supported style before that, but none of the men's records had been set using support like even very minimal like that. So then when Francois Dain came around this summer and pulled out
Mm.
all the stops, it was uh, a complete, that was um, no one had ever approached it like that.
Yeah.
So I then was able to recruit much more help than I had 2 years ago. But compared to Francois, I still was quite minimal on the
Yeah.
board. Yeah. That being
But
said,
was
I had the
sorry.
experience and he was using my route, my
Yeah.
lines, his paces were using my lines. And uh So I just, which I had memorized. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what what I was getting at. Was that um was that frustrating that it was done that way?
No, um, I mean, it was kind of like, the comment section after he did it, was like a implying that, well, I mean, he completely destroyed he took 3.5 hours off.
Yeah.
So people were saying things like, oh no, an FKT like this can never be accomplished without full suite support like that anymore. Again, it's
Right.
professionalized. You need big budget, camper van, custom made shoes, all this stuff, which he highlighted in his YouTube videos.
Mm.
Um, that wasn't so frustrating to me because I just knew I had left a lot of time on the table, and so in a
Okay.
way, it was extremely motivating that I could hit that time as well. What was frustrating was just like I felt like, I mean, in all the FKTs I've done and the world of FKTs I've been involved in, like it's definitely a camaraderie. It definitely feels like a pretty close knit community of folks
Yeah.
doing these things. And I'm friends with Joey. I asked him about it. He was incredibly generous, and I
Yeah.
really respect his style and his record. And I made that quite clear in my recap. And like, what kind of just bothered me a little was like Francois had these sponsored posts and YouTube videos of like him and his Pacers with my file on their watch,
Right.
navigating, and they just never
Yeah.
gave me a shout out. So I was like,
Yeah.
that kind of was unfortunate. But I mean, I understand why
Yeah.
he did that, and it's different in the Alps clearly, and there's the sport's kind of unusual when it comes to like when you're really doing this for commercial reasons. Not that he was doing
Yeah.
it really for commercial reasons or anything, but obviously he had sponsors to
Keep happy.
yeah, to keep happy, and so there's only so many narratives you can't. In other words, you can't really. I understand why you wouldn't want to complicate the narrative with like mentioning me, who we've never met, and like no one knows. None of the audience is like cares about that. So, but yeah,
Well, I think they do. I think they do care about it. Like me, I don't know a lot about this culture or lifestyle. I'm just a fan of cool people. But I don't know, reading about it, part of trail running on the wider scale, part of the draw, at least for me, and I think for other people that I've met, is the community aspect and keeping it relatively, I hate the word authentic, but I feel like it's the right word. Like kind of like minimalist style, but also the point is to help each other out, and like FKTs especially, right, are there to be broken. And you use the right word, camaraderie. I think it's meant to be like a team effort to break them of those who have done it before. So I think you're allowed to be a bit frustrated that you didn't get a mention because you put a lot of effort into your. I should explain for people who don't um read your lines, for the way that you just have the start and finish point, right? That's the route, and you have to hit the peak of each of the 14 peaks. But you make your own route in between. That's what you were saying earlier. You've put a lot of effort into creating the perfect route for you, and for someone to use it and get the publicity and FKT out of it, and yeah, all the commercial purposes. I think it's at the bare minimum impolite to not like give credit where credit is due. I think that's reasonable in my books, but um just my
yeah.
opinion. I think
I
it's
mean,
a different approach. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the sport has changed so much since I started that it doesn't. I just think it's within keeping just the way the sport has kind of changed. Like so that's why I don't blame Francois or anything. Like it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
um but that was a big reason I came back was I'm like, okay, well, I have all these friends in Colorado, New Mexico who sound down to help me out, and if we can kind of keep it like return to the style that I, attracted me in the first place. Like I think that would be really cool to see and to experience. Um, so I'm like proud of that. I'm happy about that. But then again, like I don't have any of the support he has. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
don't
to
really have that
acknowledge that is fine without discounting it. Is yeah,
yeah.
fair enough. Um, what did go back to 11 years ago? What did attract you to the sport? How did you get into it?
I grew up in Chicago, and um, an apartment building, and Chicago's super flat. It's completely flat. Uh, and very urban. Like the closest trail. I mean, there's some trails in like a old Superfund site about 50 minutes from where without traffic. Uh, but otherwise, it's several hours to like Wisconsin, and but I just found out about all this stuff online really in high
Mhm.
school, and honestly, a huge. I mean, I was reading Anton's blog largely, and at that,
Mhm.
and I think a couple of years prior to when I got introduced, one or two, he was working on Nolan's himself and gave it a couple of attempts. So that really
Right.
is part of it. I mean, that and just learning about UTMB, that was like 2014, 20 was when some of these American runners showed up to UTMB for the
Mm.
first time, and it kind of became like Mike Foot, I believe, and uh, probably Carl Meltzer and Scott Jurek, those guys.
Yeah.
Um, so it was sort of when like trail running was becoming international, and yeah, UTMB, Nolan's, I was just like incredibly inspired, and drove out to Colorado the day after high school graduation and started
Whoa.
started yeah, I would do like really long solo runs in the city like during the winter when the lake was frozen over, and it felt like it felt like you were very isolated, because no one else would be out there during those times. And I'd be in
Yeah.
my micro spikes on the lakefront and looking up at the city that was all gray. So it kind of felt like being in the mountains in that way, little
Right.
packs. And so yeah, that's the origin story.
Yeah. It's really funny that you mentioned Anton specifically because when I was like trying to read up on you right before this, I was like, oh, he's quite like Anton. He gives that vibe. Like, I don't know. You just remind me of him definitely. So that's funny that he was actually the inspiration or part of the inspiration for you getting involved in the first place. Um, how come you just what do you mean you drove out? Did you drive out to Colorado and stay straight after high school?
Yeah, so it's yeah. No, so I went to Colorado College uh
Ah, okay, okay.
and worked that summer in Avon. So that was 2016. Uh yeah. So no, it wasn't like I was dirt bagging through my as soon as I hit 18, I was like, yeah, no, not like that. But I did do a lot of running in the mountains pretty soon, pretty much immediately. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. What were you studying at college?
I studied anthropology and environmental science. So it was basically, we didn't have a geography program, but if we did, it would have been like um, human geography.
Okay. Yeah. Is that what you're doing now? Or
Then I
did
went to grad school for regional planning, and again, kind of like geography. And now I'm doing something totally unrelated. But
what are
yeah,
you doing?
I do a little bit of work for this produce company. Uh,
Okay.
just yeah, but have been like more or less running half time, full time for since grad school. So just just
Right.
just because I uh feel yeah, I don't know, that just because this seems like as good a time as any to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. How old are you? Is that a rude question?
27.
Oh, me too. Okay. Right. So since grad. Yeah. Okay. Quite a long time. And if you did it
Yeah,
one after the
yeah.
other. Okay.
Well,
Like
yeah.
how
I mean, with COVID and stuff, it's been a weird landscape.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you when that happened?
I was just wrapping up my senior year, So then like grad school was kind of during lockdowns and stuff,
Oh,
uh and then with the political situation, a lot of
no comment.
the opportunities are not what I was hoping they would be in terms of, in
Right.
terms of like public infrastructure,
Yeah.
kind of a
That
whole class of people wanted to work on like the Green New Deal, and that didn't happen. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, talk a bit more about that. That's quite interesting. The experience. I mean, that's shit. I'm sorry that you were in senior year when COVID hit. That's a bit crap. But yeah, take us through the scene over there. Obviously, we only have the snapshot here of what we see in the media. So tell us a bit about that.
Of like how crazy it was or how not crazy it was.
We're gonna go with how crazy it was
Yeah.
on the off
I
chance.
mean, I think the thing was that we were so like on more. I mean, actually, it's interesting. A lot of myself and a lot of runners I know took a lot of more risks in 2020 than they ever have since or before.
In what
Which is like
kind of?
in terms of like in the mountains,
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
solo scrambling or fast technical running. So there was an interesting psychology going on there. I mean, I was in Colorado Springs. Like they, yeah, I was in Colorado Springs, and they did do a lockdown, and all my classes were put online, and
Mm.
so it was very isolating. But I ended up finding a place to live in central Idaho, because I had a summer job, which was then kind of like messed,
Yeah.
canceled basically, uh, in Idaho there. But the access where I was staying and just in the Ketchum area in general is like totally unprecedented. It's insane. It's like truly
Yeah.
incredible. Like the
Right.
Alpine's incredible. The sagebrush hills are incredible. The last bit of skiing was really good. So I like really got into it. I was doing like these massive runs linking, because the thing is in Idaho, you can kind of, it does become quite technical higher up, but you can basically follow ridge lines as far as the eye can see, like unlimited. And so I got really into just starting from like a certain ridge and seeing how far I could get. So I was doing a
Okay.
lot of bushwhacking and quite a lot of scrambling, and that was like when I was still, no phone, no Garmin
Yeah.
tracker. So, and obviously no one cared in Idaho. Like that's the thing in the US is it was like, by the summer, some states like people were in complete lockdown, social distancing, like really quite overbearing. And Idaho, we were, bachelor parties, 4th of July, it really didn't matter. Like there were no
Right.
rules at all. And so then when I went to Ithaca, New York for grad school that fall, uh, it was like entering a whole different universe, because that was like no groups over whatever it was, six, social distancing, every
Hmm.
outside, inside. People would, they were like anonymous tip lines to go rat people out for like doing the wrong thing.
Oh,
I was getting yelled at for running on the sidewalk without a mask on, stuff like that. So it was actually like psycho. And like I had these
yeah.
roommates who took it incredibly seriously, and it was like I had to get 3 tests before I could go back to the house if I ever traveled somewhere, and like um,
Three different tests.
like towel under the door in case any fumes might be traveling. Like it was crazy. It was honestly insane. It was like, and Cornell was, you couldn't travel beyond like 40 minutes without, radius, without declaring, without having to then go through the steps of being granted access back into the bubble. So it
Whoa.
was just like, it was like really, um, it was like it's one of these things where I had like a tenuous relationship with my plans, career wise, like social wise, to begin
Yeah.
with, and it was like, what the hell? This is, it becomes a lot like, I think for a lot of people sort of my age in that position, like without a stable job or family, uh,
Yeah.
in that setting, that was like, I there's no point in kind of doing something conventional, because it's like this is going to happen again, and then we're all screwed. Not
Yeah.
to be morbid, but but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of like planners and people who are interested in the public sector were really gung ho in 2019 and early 2020 about a potential Bernie presidency, or like, if not
Yeah.
that, then at least something productive. And, uh, it was interesting. I think there was a lot more conversation about climate change, mitigating it, and adapting to it between 2016 and 2020, like around the Paris Accords. And then
Yeah.
that all just vanished in the last few years, just completely gone, at least over here.
And what about now? Does that still interest you?
Yeah, I mean, well, now it's, I don't know, now, not to get too political, but now it's like just hemorrhaging this stuff we took for granted, like public lands and
Yeah.
wilderness areas and clean water, like
Yeah.
clean air. So yeah, I don't know. I think there is definitely, I mean, a big reason why I do like, why I'm running as much as I am now and why I like to go really far out there is just because I'm trying not to take it for granted. It's, uh, between wildfires and yeah, just these, and being able to see these like, very charismatic animals out there, like eagles and hawks and um, bighorn sheep and mountain
Yeah.
goats and mountain lions and bears and stuff. Like it's pretty special, or as to
Yeah.
me, it's like incredibly special, and I would never pass it up for anything else right now.
Right. Oh, well, I'm sorry that that's part of the reason, though.
Yeah.
That's really sad. I mean, do you have hope for the future?
I mean, when it comes to public lands, like there is such a consensus among Americans out here that we value these things, even if it's
Yeah.
not so coherent with the rest of people's political ideology. That I do, I have hope that we'll be able to enjoy these places still, but big picture, not too much, not too much. Yeah, not looking great. So, but I mean, it's nice. It's really nice to be in a place like Santa Fe where people really care, um, and it's really nice to like have a good network of runner, of outdoors people who are like super, um, really prioritize the outdoors and the gifts we have, and and I got to communicate with a Forest Service ranger uh because of this fire closure these past few weeks, and
Mm.
it was like really heartening that the people who are stewarding our outdoors and these like huge landscapes were like really care deeply and are and will hold their ground as much as they can. So
Yeah.
that's definitely hopeful.
Yeah. What was the draw to Santa Fe?
It's like a very peaceful place, and there's a lot of cool conservation work going on with because it's a high desert ecosystem, and there's it's the oldest town in the country
Wow.
uh, because it was settled by the Spanish in like 400 years ago, and so there's this just like this lineage of resource management that no other place in the country has uh,
Okay. Yeah.
in terms of water and land and soil and forests. Um, and also like when the Forest Service was when the sort of like federal management was getting started about 100 years ago, Santa Fe was super important because of some early forest fire activity that happened nearby. So it's not like like a totally rosy history, but it's like
Yeah.
a very productive one. And I think I don't know. Otherwise, it's like a totally underrated trail town that the access
Yeah.
is great. It's really, really gorgeous. Like the weather's good. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you have people there? Have you met people?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a pretty close knit group of runners, and
Okay.
like the guy who runs the run club also owns the bike shop, so it's a bike shop
Okay.
club.
Yeah.
Like everyone just kind of like knows each other and is super
Yeah.
supportive. It's not a
Nice
competitive
community.
place. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone's really stoked, but no one's like out to one up each other type thing. So it's
That's yeah. I feel like that's getting more rare, so that's nice. Yeah.
yeah.
And how come you haven't I don't know that you haven't. How come you didn't return home to Chicago? Was it not for you?
No, yeah, no, not. I mean, I go back regularly.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I love Chicago. It's definitely home still in many ways, but it's 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 just not. There's no mountains. It's not. There's no
Yeah.
culture around outdoor pursuits and anything like that. So yeah.
Mm. Was it family? Was your family into that kind of stuff? Was that an element of you getting involved eventually?
Um, my dad actually was a little bit, um, which yeah, I mean, we went camping a few times, my twin sister, my dad and I, which was unheard of in my school. Like no one did that.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, that just, it's not people didn't camp or like hike or anything like that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I had a little bit of that to kind of like be inspired by. I mean, of course, I guess that age, everyone's trying to stand out a little bit. So arguably, that was something. I also played
Mm.
violin incredibly seriously, which was one of these like from a really young age. And by the time I decided I wasn't going to pursue that professionally, because you kind of have to decide that in high school. Like I had the
Mm.
opportunity, and I just it was quite a big decision. But I was like, I'm not going to go to conservatory, but the discipline of like having practicing scales for
Yeah.
2 hours a day as a high schooler was on
Oh,
top of homework was like two, or I mean Saturdays would be like 9 hours of playing. And so like training for running felt like a so liberating because you could be outside immersed in something that was
yeah.
like a sterile classroom or practice room, but B, so
Yeah.
easy, like so incredibly easy. Like there was no
Yeah.
like, uh-oh, uh-oh, I have to run 13 miles today. It was just like, this is amazing. I love doing this. I'll wake up, super early for this, like no problem. So
Yeah. I have more questions on that. But because you grew up with that discipline, I don't know whether it was pushed on you or you chose it. Do you think you need that? Is that like do you need an element of that level of discipline in your life to function? Because you've picked a pretty weird sport, if you don't mind me saying. It
yeah. Well,
requires a lot of that.
come to think of it, it's actually like, so when I was playing violin, um in many ways I was a little bit, I would do it my own way. Like, there was, I think we're freezing. Oh, there we go.
I've
Sorry.
got you, don't worry, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there was definitely like a really intense structure that I was supposed to follow to get better, to like play perfectly, but I didn't do it. I would completely was self-taught, which actually worked from like a musical standpoint.
Wow.
Basically, like in violin, you have to be perfect. The
Yeah.
idea is you have to be perfect, and then you can be musical or like
Um,
expressive. But I
yeah.
flipped that on its head, and in running, it's now sort of manifests in the exact same way, where it's like I do all this training, quote unquote, but really it's because I enjoy the daily run so
Yeah.
much. And so
Yeah.
I've never trained the way I should, like very
Right.
structured. I've never trained like very structured with like great periodization. Like I've had the opportunity to, and I've thought it would be a good idea to, but I just like will always throw in some, I'll just always mess it
Yeah.
up, which is starting not to, when like I was racing some 50Ks last year, and I got fourth at Speed Go, which was quite
Right.
good.
Well,
But
yeah.
I was like,
Point.
crap, I have the fitness to run 20 minutes faster, get second.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
but I was dicking around in the mountains for the last month and messed it up. So, yeah.
I feel like don't repeat messed it up. That's a very negative way to phrase it. You've got your own personality that you bring to it, definitely. Otherwise, you wouldn't have just set an FKT. That's
Well, that sort of, I mean, yeah, over with years, 1,000 hours a year of that type of running built up for a long
yeah,
time, like it gets you somewhere. Like I'm definitely resilient
yeah,
to a lot of fatigue, and I'm,
yeah,
I can navigate really well, like different things like that. Like surely there's a
mhm,
benefit. Luckily, I haven't been injured too
yeah.
much in the last few years, and yeah, so
I see what you mean. I think I understand. If you went around it about it, sorry, like a more scientific, regimented method, then maybe you could get those 20 minutes. Is that what you mean?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you've got quite the juxtaposition of characteristics. Like, yeah, actually just going back to the FKT, um, like so you had a spreadsheet ready, right? All the analysis done and planning. That's for like very, do you know like type A and type B people? Do you do
yeah, yeah,
you yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's very type A, right? Um, but then you mentioned not on this interview, sorry, this is looking at media that I've read about it, which I'll let you explain in a minute. But you were 10 minutes late starting because you couldn't find your satellite tracker. And then there were just like a couple things that were completely didn't go with the like Excel spreadsheet person that I had in my head reading about, like, oh yeah, you hadn't taken on enough salt or didn't have gels with you or something, or it was winter clothing as well that you had to borrow off of Morgan. Explain to me how those personalities go together. Like, what is your method to the madness? Because you want to just go with it, right? Go with the flow, but you're also a planner, definitely. So, yeah, who are
yeah,
you?
yeah. I remember I set the Cactus to Clouds FKT a few years ago too, and um that was like, so that's like in the desert, like in Palm Springs. It's like very
Right, okay, yeah.
very sunny. It's a huge climb, but I started at like 11:30,
In
and
the
most
morning.
people, yeah, and most people
Yeah.
start at like 4 because it's hot. But I was like, I was
It's
like,
like,
A, I have no interest in waking up that early, and B, if I wait long enough, the mountain will actually shade me for the way down, which totally worked. Like it
did
100%. Yeah, it totally.
it?
Everyone, people were like, "This is ridiculous. I cannot believe you started that late. Like, what an idiot." But hey, it worked.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, no, I mean the spread, like, yeah, so I mean, like, I had my splits, I had those splits dialed and stuff, but then, and I had a good nutrition plan, but then I just realized like almost immediately that I like underpacked. I needed like twice as much as I had given myself in these bags. Like I put
Yeah.
together the drop bags and stuff for everyone because coordinating crew was a bit complicated logistically. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
I could see everyone I was going to see with the pre-made bags and stuff because I was also making sandwiches, which weren't going to last a week or whatever. So,
Mm.
um, but I just was like, oh darn, like I definitely did not pack enough calories. Like
Yeah.
I did, and then so it was a classic like first day of really fall winter weather. So I just like wasn't thinking like it was because I had to get this permit from the Forest Service. Like they only gave me this window the week of
Oh, wow.
because it was really
Yeah.
unclear if I was going to be able to do it in a kosher, without technically breaking the law to pass through
Yeah.
this fire. So I heard about that on Monday, and then I had to get the crew together. Then I had to
Oh,
put the spreadsheet together. Then the storm system that was supposed to hit Thursday, Friday got slowed down and hit Friday, Saturday. So then I had to push it back a day, which means I had to call the ranger again.
oh,
I had to call all my crew again to make sure they could be pushed back 24 hours.
yeah.
And one of my crew chief had a medical thing, so I had to get a new. So it was where it's like and it had been a long summer,
Yeah.
fairly hot summer, so I was used to being out after dark in a t-shirt, and
Yeah.
I just wasn't thinking about it. And I camped under the mountain on Saturday night, so I started on Sunday, and I couldn't see the snow. I didn't know it was that snowy.
Right.
It's supposed to be
Yeah.
that. So it's not like unexplainable, but I didn't like royally botch it because I'm just didn't think about it. But
No,
yeah,
yeah.
like, and not to mention, I was able to get some photographers wanted to. I was able to recruit some photographers, and some photographers wanted to show up. And
Nice.
never having done, and like I had some friends who wanted to show up like at the start and throughout, just without without that being coordinated. So, and
Yeah.
I hadn't had that experience personally with these things yet either. So it was
Yeah.
just kind of like I was a little bit discombobulated, and I was like, if only the weather, the warm clothes thing at the start line, I could have just handed off the stuff I had readily, my puffy jacket
Wow. Yeah.
and wind trousers to my friend, but I just didn't think about it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah. So I don't know. It's all like kind of explainable, but I mean, I guess the good thing about like I made this plan, but then wasn't able to stick to it, was that it didn't stress me out because I don't usually
Yeah.
have things like that anyways. In fact, I was just thinking about like I've raced a lot and I've done, actually like legit like quite well at the sort of small to medium sized races.
Yeah.
But the three big 2X UTMB and the Val d'Aran by UTMB I was supposed to do this past summer, I like botched. And
Oh.
honestly, I think it's because I was trying to be too, just getting caught up in all this talk, the rhetoric around
Mhm.
carbs per hour and gels
Planning.
and strategy, this, that, and the other. I just was too
Yeah.
precise, which is fine, but I don't do that in training, you know.
No. Yeah.
So it doesn't, it's not that I'm like puking everywhere, but it's just like it's stress. It really is stressful for me, and like
Yeah.
I get too caught up in the details and just am not able to just get into the race itself.
Yeah.
So that took a long time, like a lot of headache to kind of realize that the spreadsheet backfires sometimes. But uh,
Yeah.
yeah, in this case, the spreadsheet was largely for the crew. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, but I guess it would have been nice if I should have asked a friend to like look over the spreadsheet and be like, double check it, like just in terms of the calories, like,
Yeah,
right.
in terms of calories, I suppose. Yeah. It wasn't a criticism, is what I meant though. I really like it. Um, yeah, I think runners have different methods to their madness, don't they? Some like to analyze spreadsheets for hours beforehand and go and execute with all the gear and um things, and then others more like you. And I think it can suck the joy out of it if that's not really what it's about for you, because that gives some people joy. I definitely have seen that. Um, I don't oh, just my friends. I've worked with a lot of engineers, and being that organized gives them actual joy. You can see it, but it's not for some people. Like, I don't think it's really for me either. I'm somewhere in the middle actually, but it's not really, yeah, for me. It definitely was not criticism of how you went about things. Um, but do you just want to go tell us the full story from when you started to, I don't know anything about the route, so speak to me like I'm an idiot. And yeah, how it went. Because you shaved 10 minutes off, just over 10 minutes actually. You shaved off. But there were some blips along the way, I understand. So yeah, tell us the whole story.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, actually, like my spreadsheet, my optimistic splits put me about an hour ahead of the record, which if it was in like good condition, like at perfect conditions, like actually the effort could have well yielded that, 34-hour and 20-minute type final split.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, like so you start off from on Shavano, Tabawatch, and then Mount Antero. And so those are the southern three mountains. And I started solo actually intentionally because I knew I needed to find my rhythm
All
myself.
right.
And
Yeah.
that was a good call. I started quite strong, but it was real frosty well, it was frosty throughout, and it was snowy above about 13,000 feet. So at about 1,200 feet of snow to navigate,
Wow.
just about an inch or two,
Okay.
ankle deep in places. But it was also real windy out of the west, and you start heading west along this up Shavano and then along this ridge. And I ran it pretty well. But immediately I knew like it's going to be a hard day because
Mm.
the route, I mean, as soon as you aren't able to see the rocks you're stepping on, or they don't behave in the way that you have trained on, like they're stuck together versus sliding or vice versa.
Yeah.
It just becomes, and like, then I was descending on one of the steeper, gnarlier descents. The first descent is a bit tricky, and all the foliage was wet because
Yeah.
rain had frozen on everything. So like all the log hoppings were incredibly slippery. Like the leaves were just dousing all my clothes. Um, the rivers were actually raging. It had rained that much the last couple days. So it's just like, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of like a death by a million cuts. But
Mm.
I didn't get down on it or anything. Like I ran those first three mountains really fast, and I felt really good. And I've done plenty of running in those types of conditions, so it's not like it was. But I did the right thing. Like I changed shoes on that first aid crossing after Antero, or not shoes, socks. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I was quite dialed. I had a windbreaker and gloves and a hat, a beanie. So, and then the next mountain is Princeton, which is very cruxy historically because it's the biggest standalone mountain in terms of the approach and the descent, and it's
Okay.
the biggest vertical relief. And the ridge is like over a mile long. So you're spending a really lot of time above 13,500 feet.
Ooh.
And then the descent is really gnarly. And like 2 years ago there, I ran out of fluids and got incredibly dehydrated because you're in such an exposed ridge
Mm.
for so long, just with the sun and wind. And so 2 years ago, that was critical where it took hours to recover from, to just,
Right.
I had to I had to sit for a while and just regain the fluid balance. Um, so this time it was real cold, and the descent had these snow drifts on the rocks. Basically, descent is giant loose talus like boulders that slide everywhere. That's why it's so hard. And it was that, but I also couldn't see where I was landing because of the snow.
No, you're
Like,
right.
my hands were getting really cold and all that. So, and feet. So, and I took a really bad line. But so I think it was there where I started getting behind already. And but I was definitely in good spirits, and like it went, everything went quite well. And uh I went up Mount Yale as the next one, which is another like 5,000 foot climb. And that was okay. The descent was okay. And then night fell and I was solo. And Columbia, the winds were just ripping off the ridge. It's always really windy there. I don't even know why, but because you're going northbound, but you're on this exposed ridge with the completely exposed to the west winds.
Mm.
Um, and it was just like totally brutal. And so the first half of the night, it kind of like then I ran out of food, and um I decided to do the Columbia Harvard Traverse, which was a good call. Like it saved some time. It's more technical than the typical
Okay.
route. Uh,
What does that mean exactly? Sorry. You just chose a different route up?
so Columbia and Harvard, uh, you can go either down to this basin and then back up, which is quite straightforward. But I mean, yeah, there's a boulder field to negotiate, and basically by the time I did it, there wasn't any water down there anyways because it was so late in the
Uh,
season. So there was really no point to do it. So I took the
okay.
direct, which is considered technical, like fifth class rock here and there. But I mean, honestly, it's not bad at all. But
Okay.
the thing is, it is on the west side of, like, it's the westernmost. It's pretty sheer, fairly sheer vertical drop just to the west of that ridge. So again, the wind was a factor, and since it's all high altitude, there was snow everywhere, and not everywhere, but
Mm.
so, and I was doing that at night. So it just like I ran that quite well, but then by the time I was done with it and headed down Harvard, I was just behind on calories and just like a little bit frustrated with everything. And because that because and that became a theme throughout the night, was like Harvard, usually quite an easy descent, but like there were these huge snow drifts at the top. And
Mm.
so I, like shin deep, and it just, was frustrating. And then since it rained so much, then the crossing from Harvard, the bottom of Harvard, to the start of the next climb, Mount Oxford, was a huge swamp.
Mm.
Uh, like, early season, there's like a bit of a lake there, but usually it dries up, and it had, but then anyways, so I just got all wet, and like the willows were really big this year. So I had to like fight all these willows to cross. Just typical. This is like what Nolan's is known for,
Right.
like it's
Okay.
not like I had it worse than anyone else. It's just like,
Yeah.
uh, on top of everything, I couldn't find a bridge to cross the creek. So I had to wade through the creek, there was no natural log crossing or anything.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I ate the last bits of my food and got really nauseous, because anything I was trying to chew by that point, I was getting really nauseous. Um,
Mm.
I think just because a combo of the dry air and um, the wind, like just irritating my throat. Uh,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't a stomach thing, but then
Right.
I messed up the line of Oxford because I just wasn't thinking straight, and that's like one of these things where that added probably 20 minutes,
Right.
because Oxford, basically, the bottom has these big old slabs, of granite, very steep, and like a steep sort of like loamy foresty section. So it's not good enough to just head in the general direction. You actually have to stay on the. Basically, I had found an elk path because all the animals figured that out too.
Figure it out for you. Yeah.
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 So I lost like 20 minutes, and I just got really frustrated because I'm like, man, the elk path was so good right now, because the elk migrate in the fall. So
Mm.
it was like a high, it was like a trail. And I
Yeah.
totally watched him like, man, you can't be doing this. And um and then the rest of Oxford, I was just like really just in the pits, and it was really windy and freezing. I was like shivering. So then I got extra frustrated because I was like, oh man, now I'm burning a ton of calories, not even moving
Yeah.
forward, like just to
Yeah.
stay warm. So that was definitely the low point. But then Morgan had run up from the north side of Oxford to meet me, and he had like
Mm.
these extra layers, hand warmers, and all this extra food. So he did really well for that whole
Yeah.
the Oxford Belford, Missouri, and despite some like less suboptimal conditions, and Huron too, actually. So I like really turned it around for that last half of the night. Of course, the night section was like 11 and a half hours of darkness, um,
Pretty
which,
rough.
yeah, um, I didn't get sleepy or anything, but it was, compared to 2 years ago when I did it early July, like that's like 4 hours more of darkness.
Difference. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like a never ending night. And yeah, and then I missed my crew in Winfield, just by it, just an accident, like an unfortunate accident.
Mm.
But so then La Plata, which, like, so I was like, okay, now I'm gearing to go. Like there's with, three mountains left,
Yeah.
including La Plata. I'm like feeling really good. But then I got incredibly behind on calories, like really, and it was that part of the morning that's super cold on the north aspects. And so I made it to the top hungry, but like, okay, we can do this. And then like the descent, which is usually easy, was still pretty easy, but the ground was frozen. So like, and the trails were frozen. So had ice on them. So I was just like not able to open up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I finally saw my crew at the bottom of La Plata, and basically just switched to like pure carb drink mix stuff, gels, carbs. Like I had been doing a real food plan that was good. Like I think that was the right call.
Right.
Using this new brand called Pep Sports Nutrition. But by that point, I was just like, okay, that's great, but I just need to have as many calories as humanly possible right now, like
Yeah.
in like format. So that's what I did. And it worked really well. Elbert went good, regained the time on Francois. I think I was 9 minutes back on the top of Elbert.
Wow.
And then I must have made time on the descent with the help of my friend Noah Williams, who lives in Leadville.
Right.
And then I lost it again going up massive because that was the last mountain. And it was just like a total sufferfest. It was just really hard. Like my legs have been feeling pretty good all the way up until the steep part of that climb. And then I was just like,
Done.
time slowed down.
Yeah.
I was definitely, my body was definitely like rebelling at that point with breathing and all the
Yeah.
altitude things, besides like a
Yeah.
headache. So we were then 9 minutes down again on the top of massive, which was the last peak. So we had basically 1 hour and 40 minutes to get to the finish to tie the record. And the steep parts of the descent it just like I wasn't able to get my stride going because I was so done. And no matter how hard I tried, but like Noah knew the line perfectly.
Yeah.
Because basically by that point you're so delirious that even if you know the line, it's hard to stay with it.
Keep track. Yeah.
And because it requires maximum like mental energy at that point to either find the line or run fast. I don't think you can find the
Yeah.
line and run fast.
Yeah.
So Noah did the work of finding the line and setting a pretty good pace. And I just had to try as hard as I could to like push through it all and get that run stride going and
Mm.
rip it down as good best as I could, which I ended up being able to do. So we put in 20 minutes on Francois' descent and or 19 minutes.
Wow. Yeah. So you bombed it down, basically.
Relatively speaking, yeah. It felt like it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So slow.
And this is only, what date was that? 5 days ago?
Monday, yeah, Monday afternoon. Yeah.
My God. How are you feeling? And congratulations. I should start with
Oh,
that, shouldn't
thank you.
I? Congratulations on the FKT. That's
Yeah.
massive with everything going against you.
It was pretty cool. I mean, like it obviously everything could have been a lot worse, like it could have been if I'd started the day before, it's like I would have
Mm,
had to deal with a giant thunderstorm and all this snow falling.
yeah.
So in the end, all I had to deal with was like some snow at altitude, frozen trails, and rip and wind. But otherwise, in a longer night just because it was September. But otherwise,
Yeah.
like really, and then being low on calories. But it's not like I had it all stacked against me or anything. Like,
Mm,
um, I was able to run quite well. So, but yeah, that last descent, like I just had to dig so deep that
yeah.
like at first it was
Yeah.
like my short term memory was quite traumatic. I was like, that was not cool. But now looking back, like I mean, first of all, it was absolutely beautiful because the fall colors had hit and there was snow
Yeah.
it was beyond gorgeous. And like we saw these goats in their winter coats, their white furriness. And um, so yeah, I mean, I was too focused to really enjoy it like in the moment, like I had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Really was enjoyable, but I think it was like a really cool experience.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
did have a lot of friends out, at the finish line and throughout, especially on that second day.
Mm,
So it was, yeah, it was really cool. And, um, yeah, I mean, it was one of these things where like, yeah, if it had gone perfectly with nutrition and conditions, it just wouldn't have been as memorable. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
obviously, if I had missed the record by 1 minute, it would be a different
It'd be pretty
story.
memorable for sure.
It would be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But I mean, not even take other people out of the equation, comparing it to 2 years ago when you had, like, I'm assuming nearly perfect conditions if it was in summer. That's massive, the amount of time that you've taken off your own record.
yeah. I mean, it is interesting to think what's worse. So I had to do it not out of basically I was forced to do it on these certain days 2 years ago for like along like an unfortunate reason, which so happened to be the hottest day of the year, like of all time in Leadville, like
Oh, all t oh
record.
my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
all time. Which in Leadville isn't that hot, but since you're at that altitude, it feels like being on the surface of the sun. So in some ways, I had it worse 2 years ago, like for sure, especially not having as much
Yeah.
as
Okay. Yeah.
um because you're just you just get cooked, like just like
Yeah.
almost literally cooked
Oh,
with how strong the sun is. So I mean, yeah, it is possible that September is actually a better time to go for it. The thing
yeah.
is,
Okay.
September is usually the most stable month weather-wise,
Yeah.
but this year the monsoons hit really late.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like the art. I mean, probably the way I just described it and the article in Trail Runner made it sound like the biggest suffer fest of all time. But it was fun. It was good. Like the
Yeah.
training was good. Like I'm glad I did it, and yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned that in that article mentions as well that like I'm sure you've experienced this a bunch, like being in the UK, but sometimes it's easier to get really dialed in when it's windy and cold and just because you have fewer
Focus.
distractions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. Yeah. I guess yeah, I hadn't really thought of it as a positive. I more look abroad and be like, oh, I wish I was running there because it looks like stunning. But I can think of one. I don't come off very well in this story, but I like got the train out from Glasgow, which is where I was at university, and I think I had the most focused run of my life because I made so many mistakes. I think it was either October or November in Scotland, so that's quite cold.
It's
Like
dark.
for me anyway, that's quite cold, and I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and I just got the train, so I had no like transport back, and I still am a new runner to be honest because I keep messing up every time I get into it. But I was like really new. So I had like a little rucksack on with water and a couple gels, but that was it. And then I went and I got really enthusiastic, as I do. And I ran like, I don't know, like 10 miles away from where I got off the train. And then I started thinking about like, oh shit, like I don't actually have any other gels with me and I'm getting kind of cold. And didn't bring any layers or anything. And I remember the focus that you're talking about. Yeah, because this was like snowstorm. It became like a snowstorm. And I hadn't looked at the weather or anything. So I was just like trudging through these fields that weren't even a footpath because I couldn't find the path. I'm quite directionally challenged as a person. And then I came across this guy walking his dog. And I was like, I said, I'm headed this way. Is there like a train station this way? I'm assuming. No, no, the nearest station you're gonna have to go, it's like 10 miles away, which is where I had just come. It's like, fuck. So I think I did the fastest 10 miles of my life, which isn't fast. But I remember like being in the actual zone because the weather was so grim. But it felt kind of good, honestly, like what you're talking about. Yeah. The harder it gets, the more focused you get. Um, yeah, I don't know. I still remember it fondly as like a good it's like a good memory. But in the time, I was fucking freezing. Yeah, it was not good. It really was not good. So I think we do have an element of that here. I don't think our weather is ex as extreme that like actually that's not true. Like some of the races in Wales look like you would have to be in the zone the whole way. And have that focus like forgotten the names of it. It's like Dragon's Back or something.
Yeah.
They've got mountainous races in
The spine.
Wales.
The spine.
Yeah, yeah, like that. I can't imagine, but yeah. And partly navigation puts you in focus as well, right? It's the same kind of deal for sure.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, like if your hands are too cold to pull your phone out, it's like, or like it's raining, and you can't use your phone anyways. It's like it does.
yeah,
It's interesting psychology because it's like, well, now you just have to figure it out. So,
yeah, yeah. I think it's your body going. It's probably not a good thing, by the way. Like it's probably your body going into survival mode, which is equals stress. Like,
adrenaline. Yeah.
yeah,
Adrenaline, cortisol. Oh, that's good
yeah.
for racing, I guess. But oh, yeah, hopefully. or like trying to catch the bus. Yeah, so you don't have
Yes.
to use all night.
I'm yeah. I'm not as much like that. I'm less stupid, but yeah. I get what you mean.
Well,
Have you got
I did, I spent 2018 some fall semester in like a study abroad thing in Edinburgh.
no
So
way? All
I would
right.
I would take the train or bus out and like stay in the youth hostel the night, like the Friday night or Saturday night, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So by the time it was October, November, I was definitely doing that where I'd try to like do this huge loop and then like have to catch the 4 p.m. bus, and it was
Yeah.
obviously dark by then already, and like incredibly wet and frozen and stuff. And like, yeah, that you definitely have to get in the zone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about. How did you find it?
uh, amazing, like so good.
Yeah.
I really,
Yeah.
yeah, I had amazing. I was like part of I did some training and racing with the Hares and Hounds Club, and
Yeah.
it was epic, especially coming from Colorado because like people have it, especially on the Front Range in Colorado, like people have an ego when it comes to these things.
Right.
And I was just like training with these guys who were like internationally ranked orienteers,
Yeah.
like top 10 national trail runners.
Yeah.
Like, like this dude had run with had just like the weekend before run like the Great Scottish Half,
Yeah.
having never run on the roads
Mm-hmm.
in like trail shoes, and he ran like a 106.
What?
Just like, and they would never tell you, like there was no
No.
sense. Yeah, and they
Yeah.
didn't look either. Like they weren't decked out in
That's
spandex.
yeah. Yeah.
And we did some fell racing and cross country. It was incredibly fun. It was so good. It was like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, the culture in Glasgow, I mean, they're kind of a bit competitive with each other. But it's the same. Like I found in the trail running community there's like insane people just in the Hares and Hounds Club. Like Laura Muir was a
Oh,
Olympian, a literal Olympian, and she was there in my first year at university there. I mean, she didn't come to a lot of the events, but it was still like you. She didn't even say that, but that was just word of mouth, you know. And she's still on the international stage. It's like just yeah, and even the people that I went to university with now, they're still like internationally ranking some of them in different
oh,
events,
totally,
and you wouldn't
totally.
know. Like, just wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here they'd be like demanding sponsorships and all this stuff, and and I remember we did I think it was Scottish national cross country relays, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and yeah, there were a couple Olympians. Also, the fell relay champs or whatever. Yeah, it's like Olympians, like 70-year-olds or even older, and they're all
Yeah.
like having the exact same experience, like incredibly
Yeah.
friendly with just super
Yeah.
supportive. No one's like in their corner doing their fancy warm up with their fancy, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's like it's a really cool place to be for that. What year was that? Was it in Falkirk that you went to nationals?
That was 2018. Yeah, or um what's the industrial town on the northeast? Dundee, maybe?
Dundee?
Yeah, I think it
Oh,
was.
you went right. Yeah. I was
I don't
wondering if it was the
remember.
same
There are a
year.
couple of them. Yeah, there are a couple of them.
Yeah. There's Aberdeen, Dundee, Northeast. Or maybe you're talking more north. Anyway, that's really cool. I was at nationals on, oh, it was either 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2019 actually. So I would have missed it. Anyway, yeah, that's really cool.
Well, and then December 1st, I think, I ran the Shivio Goat 50 miler.
Oh, nice.
That was kind of like the last running thing I did there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I ended up tying with Kim Collinson, um, who like really took pity on me because talking about bad conditions, it was horrendous. It was so bad. And I literally wrote the orienteering directions on a piece of paper.
Oh no. I
Which
I feel
somehow
like that's
I
kind of on you.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think I put it in a plastic bag to be fair, but it
Oh,
still
okay.
didn't work out. I think I actually had memorized like the first half of the directions, which was like a miracle. But then I got so cold and like lost, and Kim must have taken pity because otherwise he would, he could have dropped me at any time, I think.
Yeah, he
But
supported you round.
yeah, we finished together, and he was like,
Wow. Yeah. Oh, can we get you back on the Scottish scene then? When's your awaited return?
yeah, it'd be cool if they did the. I'm sure they still do Glencoe Skyline. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. They do every year still, I think. They do.
Yeah,
You might be interested in the West Highland Way route. They do that. Well, actually, it didn't run either last year or before. But anyway, usually annually they have the West Highland Way, and that's like it. The start is only 20 minutes from Glasgow, and it's a 97 mile. You must have heard of it, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
Cape Wrath would be cool.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
that looks epic. Yeah, there's some good ones. I went back for Snowdonia 2 years ago, Snowdonia 100
Oh
mile,
yeah, yeah.
which ended up being a super hot day, like really steamy. Yeah. That was cool too. Kim was there cheering on uh the guy who just got did super well at UTMB. Uh,
Oh.
I can't believe it. I know him quite well. I'm blanking because we. Oh my God. North Face athlete. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
not
I'm
up to date
super
with
sorry.
UTMB. That's okay. Look it up. I don't mind. I'm
Yeah, I
curious.
could look it up.
Mm.
But basically he ended up winning Snowdonia and I was dealing with these crazy cramps. But the
Oh,
ironic thing was that, oh, Josh Wade. I'm sorry, Josh Wade.
well, I
He's the
don't
best.
even know the name. There you go.
He's a Lake District guy. He just crushed at UTMB. He's like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Super strong.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But he won Snowdonia that year, but we did the night section together. And I was doing all the navigation, ironically. And but he was like keeping the morale high and like helping because my quads were really cramped, were super like done for because of cramps. So
Yeah.
he would help me out through the descents, and then I was and then he just pulled away in the next day, and he ran like amazingly
Right.
fast.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah. And you still struggled with cramps the next day.
that was if not for the cramps, it would have been an amazing race. But I cramped like
Mm.
immediately. It was the whole
Ah, gutted.
yeah.
Yeah.
But damn, that's a cool course. That is an amazing
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. I don't know it very well. I know Snowdon, Mount Snowdon, but I mean, that's really it. I don't, yeah, haven't explored much. That's pretty cool though. I interviewed the guy who set I don't think we call it an FKT over here, do we? Anyway, he set the FKT on the Paddy Buckley, which it's around there. And it sounds pretty savage. Yeah. I mean, he managed to train for that on the East Sussex coast. You won't know where I'm talking about, but a pretty flat coast, like where I grew up. He just like did hill repeats over and over and over to train for it, which was pretty cool. Um, but yeah,
I met Finley Wild last year in Italy for Trophy Okima, and
yeah,
he absolutely obliterated. That was one where it was like that race was less than a week before UTMB, and just
right,
objectively speaking, it was like way more exciting and competitive in the front,
right,
top 10, both men and women,
yeah,
and uh, it didn't really get any coverage, but
yeah.
he broke old Killian record
Well,
quite a lot of time in like those are like killing conditions. But he yeah, it was really cool.
you must have met. Did you meet him whilst you were over in Edinburgh? Because isn't he's based somewhere up there, right?
I think he's based in where Ben Lamont or
In Lomond?
yeah, what's that
Yeah.
town? Loch Lemon.
Inverness or Loch Lomond?
I think he might live in Loch Lomond.
All
I
right, yeah, that
gotta
would make
ask him about
sense.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he knew a lot of people. I never met him. But he knew a lot of people in the Hares and Hounds in Glasgow. I remember. Yeah. Yeah,
he is the
see, this is
type of
why
guy
we
who
have
sort of
such
knows
insane.
that.
Sorry?
He's the sort of guy who sort of is friends with everyone. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sure. He sound yeah, everyone seemed to know him. in the club. But I guess it's a pretty niche. Like Scotland's actually really small population wise, so it's pretty niche as a sport. So you basically all know each other. Yeah. Well, I'd better think about letting you go in a minute because I've had you a long time. Um, I'm going to ask you the last question that I warned you about at the beginning. What is your most embarrassing moment ever?
Um, uh, Actually, in truth, in perfect honesty, is when I had to be rescued in New Hampshire. Um, which anyone in all of the nerds in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and maybe even Vermont will know about this because they're like really into the search and rescue stuff there. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Weird
it's a
hobby. All
weird
right.
obsession of theirs. They're which is crazy because there are really a lot of search and rescues up there because it's really treacherous conditions. Uh, like always.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I spent the fall of 2022 renting a room up there. And yeah, if you don't know, Mount Washington has the worst weather in the country, like including
yeah.
Alaska.
Okay. I did
It's
not know
horrible.
that.
It's stunning, but like yeah, it's and the whole mountains are ancient, like truly ancient, the
Right.
Northern Appalachians. And
Yeah.
so it's like a pile of boulders basically. Like there's quite a lot of anyway, it's cool. It's a great part of the country and the running is insane.
Yeah.
Um, but I was doing like a lot of mount, just daily, like doing some cool, really awesome mountain runs up there before it got, too wintry.
I see.
And
Yeah.
I did like a 40 plus mile training run on a route I'd never been on. So like there's a lot of trails up there but not all of them are maintained by any means.
Right. Okay.
So the bulk of this ridge I was doing linking up this one section of the whites for that 40 miler I'd never been on and I didn't care to read about. And it was getting quite cold. It was like 40 degrees and raining that whole time. So, anyways, I made it through that ridge section, but it just took forever, and it just was
Right. Yeah.
exhausting. And then I was going down one of the least steep trails in all of the White Mountains, but that was basically a creek bed, and
Okay.
so it's still like it's actually probably the most dangerous trail in the Whites if you think about it because you can run, but you know, it's still covered. It's just like a pile of rocks with water everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
And I went to go cross this part of the creek, like jump across some boulders, and this couple was there with their dog off leash.
I
And
do not see where this is going at all.
uh, yeah, basically the dog, like, it didn't like attack me or anything, but basically I didn't wait for this couple to fully clear the creek with their dog.
Yeah.
Actually, the couple had cleared, but anyways, I started hopping across these boulders to cross the creek, and the dog kind of like lunged slightly, and so I fucked up and landed on
Got
the boulder,
under you.
my hip,
Uh,
and I like told him I was fine because I was just like, whatever, I'll be able to walk it off.
yeah.
I was not able to walk it off at all. In fact, I was like throwing up. It was so painful.
Oh my God.
And I was like literally crawling down this trail and I had to call search and rescue. And
Which is
so
totally
then,
justified, by the way.
yeah, I mean, I think I would have survived the night,
That's
probably.
not the point.
Maybe
That's not the point.
it was getting rainy and stuff. I mean, I guess I would have had to be carried out by someone at some point, anyways, because it was that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was a miracle I didn't break. I think I like just like damaged my labrum or something pretty bad. But
Yeah.
like the hip has never quite been the same. But
Oh,
yeah, I had to be carried out on a Sunday night by the search and rescue. The search and rescue guys love doing this stuff. Like,
yeah. They live
they
for it.
love this shit. They're all
Yeah.
from me, and they're like, and it wasn't that bad. But I had to
Yeah.
yeah, they had to carry me out, and I almost got a ticket for negligence because they're trying to ticket people now, fine them for being idiots and taxing local resources. But the cop was like, actually, you were like fairly prepared.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
didn't know that was a thing. Yeah.
anyways, it was embarrassing because then the nerds about these things found out about it and then like posted about it on the nerdy Facebook about search and rescue, and it like made the local paper, and all of a sudden, like, fair weather runner has to get hauled out, and so now,
Outrageous.
yeah,
So
so
mean.
it was really embarrassing. Like, I didn't tell, obviously I didn't tell anyone. I got back, I was stay with my twin sister in Boston for a week, and like got checked out by a doctor, and it's like, okay, I got back and everyone knew about it. I was like, God.
That's
Yeah.
pretty bad, like. Yeah.
I think
That's
some
just
dude in
mean,
Boston,
though.
I think someone in Boston, even someone who wasn't even a runner, who just was from New England, who knew my sister, brought it up. I'm like, this is like social sanctioning. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they don't have much else to talk about, so that
Exactly.
was
Yeah, they
obviously
don't.
the topic.
There isn't much going on up there.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I like this one. Yeah, that makes the list. That is
Yeah.
pretty bad. I thought you were going to say just being rescued was embarrassing. I was like, oh, I can understand feeling guilty bringing them out, but I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. But yeah, that's savage putting it all over the media.
Shame. The shame. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, But yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. You must feel exhausted still. I don't believe you that you're just fine. Like it was on Monday into Tuesday. So yeah, congratulations on the FKT and thank you for taking the time out to speak to me in your
Thank you.
tired state, I'm sure.
Thanks.